Guys, we've got huge news. Okay, here we go. There is a hotfix that has been pushed to the Wrath Classic PTR that is going to adjust how the Summon Gargoyle spell inherits haste from the Death Knight. That's right, guys, they're freaking doing it. They're doing it. They continue to say, to help explain this adjustment and why we feel it's needed, let's take a quick look at how the Gargoyle currently functions. Now, guys, most of you, I'm going to explain this in the short version, okay? Basically, what Death Knights do is they pop all their cooldowns at once, and then they summon their Gargoyle, and then their Gargoyle is going to keep those stats long after the Death Knight has already lost them. For example, a Death Knight is going to get Meteorite Whetstone proc, and that's going to increase their haste. They're going to get Bloodlust, and that's going to increase their haste. And they're going to get Serpent Swiftness from their meta gem, and that's going to increase their haste, right? They're going to pop a haste potion. This is all going to happen, and then they're going to pop their hyperspeed accelerators on their gloves, and then they're going to use Summon Gargoyle. And this Gargoyle is going to have a ridiculous amount of haste. Blizzard says here it's possible for players to snapshot over 370% haste and well over 400% for Death Knights who are also trolls using Berserking, which also increases haste. Now, this is going to reduce the cast time of Gargoyle Strike from 2 seconds all the way down to 0.35, a freaking machine gun. 0.35 is like boom, 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 but faster than that. It's even faster. So, guys, this is really where a ton of Death Knights DPS came from. And really what's happening is Blizzard is going to make a change now in phase 2, which is going to be on the PTR, so we can test it this weekend. That's basically going to nerf this, and it is now going to function in a different way. Okay, the change that Blizzard is implementing, and I guess I should say testing, is going to cause the cast time reduction, right, from 2 seconds. It's going to be reevaluated every time the Gargoyle casts its attack during the Summon Gargoyle duration, based on the Death Knight's current hastes, not the haste value at the time of the initial summoning of the Gargoyle. So every single time the Gargoyle is about to use Gargoyle Strike, it's going to see, hey, how much haste does my Death Knight have? And then it's going to have that much haste. So it's going to constantly be looking at the Death Knight's haste. So this has eliminated snapshotting. This is going to completely change Death Knights. This is going to cause a dramatic decrease in a Death Knight's DPS. Now, Blizzard continues by saying, we do not make changes like this lightly. And indeed, we hoped not to make any changes like this one in Wrath Classic. However, the current data we have demonstrates that if left untouched, Death Knights stand to scale up more significantly, more than any other DPS class in the game for the remainder of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. That is insane, guys. Death Knights OP. They just said it. Players have picked up on this, of course, right? We're just going to stack Death Knights, and the class is already become overrepresented in many raid groups across a variety of skill levels. That means noobs to pros all are like, oh, DK best, right? Let me throw some DKs in the raid. Now, as time goes by and more power is acquired, the more that groups are going to likely push to stack the class further, right? More people realize, oh, DK OP, okay, let's just put more DKs. Phase 2 comes out, the Death Knight has BIS. It's like, wow, a Death Knight with full BIS is crazy good. Let's just stack our raid with best in slot Death Knights, right? Now, Blizzard wants to make it clear that they're not planning on any further adjustments to any other classes because they feel that the class balance and representation in raids is actually at a good place right now across all classes, and they have no plans nor desire for any further tuning adjustments. Now, guys, I mean, this is huge, and the reason they say that is because they think people are gonna be like, oh, they're changing Death Knight, why not go change Warlock next? I mean, they're completely broken, why not go change this other class next? Blizzard's gonna be on a hashtag changes spree, which who knows, they could absolutely do that, but right now it looks like this is the only primary change. And by the way, this is still a test. Let's make that very clear. They're testing this, but you know what? Who knows? Maybe this will make it into the live servers. We get to test it out this weekend because ULDUAR opens up for testing again on Friday, January 6th. It's going to be up until the 9th, so everyone hop on that if you want to test ULDUAR and test this crazy new hotfix that is already live on Wrath Classic PTR. But that's not all. Noxramas achievement rewards are going to remain available throughout Wrath Classic. That means that if you want Glory of the Raider Black Proto-Drake, the Immortal title, and the Undying title, they are going to remain available throughout all of Wrath Classic. This is a major change. This is not how it was back in the day. Back in the day, it was unavailable after ULDUAR was released. However, everyone can basically breathe a sigh of relief if you still did not have your achievements yet, because you will be able to go after it for the rest of the entire expansion. No sweat, no rush. They actually didn't even say if you need to have certain item level. It just says, oh, it's going to be available. So you could probably roll up in Ice Crown Citadel gear probably and go get that achievement later if you really want to. So there you go. That's an awesome thing for the casuals, a win for the casuals. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but that's not all. Number one, probably the biggest thing out of everything that I shared with you today, Blizzard has decided they're not going to buff ULDUAR gear anymore. They're not going to buff it anymore. They decided that, you know what? This is it. We have had enough. I'm going to read this post. When discussing internally, one thing we kept coming back to, this is a quote: for most guilds, the jump from 232 to 252 item level will not be quick, and most groups can expect to be wearing a lot of 232 gear for the most of the time that ULDUAR is in current content. So what they're trying to say, basically, is that hard modes are going to be hard, and most guilds are not going to be clearing them at all first week. It is not a given, basically, that's going to be cleared. Some guilds will clear them quickly, but most will not. Also, they mentioned that ULDUAR is not itemized like TOC and ICC are. There is not a full hard mode loot table for every boss. It's one piece of hard mode loot per kill, and you only receive one extra piece of item level 252 loot from most bosses on hard mode, okay? So basically what they're trying to say is that this loot is very difficult to get, and it's going to take a very long time for everyone to get it, because number one, not every guild is going to clear the boss on hard mode, and number two, it's only dropping one piece and you have 25 players, right? And so the thing that they are saying they're no longer going to do is they're no longer going to buff ULDUAR gear further. Basically, they're saying that this is buff enough because this gear that's already buffed to 252 item level gear is really going to proliferate or spread amongst your raid at a very slow pace. Here they say it takes, I think they wrote right here, it's going to take 33 weeks in order to fully gear out your entire raid with 252 item level gear. And so this is basically their reasoning that, hey, this is buffed enough. We're not going to buff anything else because the 252 gear is buffed, but you know what? It's also going to be super hard to get. And so this is pretty cool. I thought that the buffs were good enough. I mean, it's a really big buff. I mean, it's going to make your guild continue to raid ULDUAR once TOC comes out, depending, of course, on, are you clearing the hard mode bosses every week? Are your guild members staying within the guild that have the hard mode gear? A lot of variables on whether or not your guild's going to get full 252 gear, which brings up the point, guys, probably not. Most guilds are probably not going to have an entire raid full of 252 item level geared players. So basically what they're ultimately saying is that the item levels that they have decided on for the gear is going to remain. They're not going to buff it further. They're not going to decrease it. It's going to be left exactly the same because they like exactly how it is in terms of difficulty versus reward, and there is no more buffs coming to ULDUAR gear. So that's really cool. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about ULDUAR. I think they're doing pretty good. I can't wait to handle the hard modes, and I can't wait to see some of that 252 gear. I hope you guys like this video. If you haven't seen my phase 2 videos, you have got to check them out. Click them on the screen right now, and I will see you there.